fighting. Sometimes survival means knowing when to stop. Completely different world when the sun goes down. While most animals are settling into the darkness, a masked face quietly emerges from the shadows. A raccoon, small enough to disappear beneath the trees, but clever enough to survive in some of the most challenging environments. And tonight, this female raccoon is beginning a journey that will eventually lead to one of nature's most remarkable stories. From finding a mate, to choosing a safe den, to raising a new generation. But before motherhood begins, the story starts with a search. The female moves carefully through the woodland, stopping every few seconds to sniff the ground and listen. Her ears rotate toward distant sounds. Her whiskers move as she investigates fallen leaves, tree roots, and branches. Raccoons are mostly nocturnal, so darkness is not an obstacle to them. It is when their world truly comes alive. During the breeding season, males and females may encounter one another while moving through their home ranges. A male approaches cautiously. The female notices him. For a moment, they remain separated by the vegetation, watching and smelling the air around them. There is no dramatic ceremony, no human-like romance, just two wild animals responding to instinct in the conditions around them. Eventually, the female moves on, but her journey is about to change. After mating, she will eventually need something far more important than companionship. She will need a safe place for her young, and finding that place can make the difference between life and death. The female begins investigating possible shelters: a hollow tree, a protected space beneath a fallen log, a quiet cavity hidden among dense vegetation. She carefully examines each location. She sniffs the entrance. She looks inside. She checks the surroundings. The perfect den must provide protection from weather, predators, and other dangers. Finally, she finds a sheltered hollow. It is dark, protected, and difficult for other animals to reach. This will become the nursery. Inside the den, the female rests and prepares for the arrival of her young. After a gestation period of roughly 2 months, something extraordinary happens. A new generation arrives. The newborn kits are tiny, helpless, and completely dependent on their mother. Their eyes are closed. Their movements are limited. They cannot survive on their own. For the first weeks of their lives, the den is their entire world. The mother stays close. She grooms them, keeps them warm, and protects them from danger. Every tiny squeak is important. Every movement tells her that her babies are alive and developing. Outside, the forest continues as normal. Birds move through the trees. Insects crawl through the leaves. Other predators search for food. But hidden inside the hollow tree, a completely different story is unfolding. The kits are growing, slowly at first, then more quickly. Their bodies become stronger. Their characteristic facial markings become more obvious, and eventually their eyes begin to open. For the first time, they can see the world that exists beyond their mother's fur. But seeing the outside world is one thing. Being ready for it is another. The mother knows when it is time to begin introducing them to life outside the den. One of the kits approaches the entrance. It hesitates. Its tiny paws touch the edge of the opening. The forest suddenly looks enormous. The young raccoon takes another step, then another, and finally it emerges. The world outside is filled with unfamiliar smells, sounds, textures, and movement. The mother remains nearby. She does not need to carry them everywhere. Instead, she allows them to explore while staying close enough to respond if danger appears. This is where the real education begins. The young raccoons watch their mother. They follow her movements. They investigate everything around them. A fallen branch becomes something to climb. A patch of leaves becomes something to search through. A tree root becomes a place to sniff and investigate. Their mother is teaching them without words. She is showing them how to move through their environment, how to search, how to climb, how to stay alert, and perhaps most importantly, how to survive. The kits begin practicing their climbing skills. One grips a small tree trunk with its paws. It climbs a little higher, then slips back down. Another follows. The mother watches nearby. Every mistake becomes part of the learning process. As the young raccoons grow, their confidence increases. They begin spending more time outside, but they still stay close to their mother. At night, the family moves through the forest together. The mother searches through leaves and soil, while the young raccoons investigate the world around them. Raccoons are opportunistic feeders, so their diet can include many different foods depending on what is available. They may search for insects, fruits, nuts, small animals, eggs, and other food sources. Their sensitive paws and strong sense of smell help them investigate their surroundings. But the forest is never completely safe. Suddenly, the mother stops. Her ears point forward. Her body becomes still. Something has moved in the darkness. The young raccoons immediately stay close. For several seconds, the entire family waits. The mother listens. She watches. Then the danger disappears. Only after the forest becomes quiet again does she continue moving. This is another lesson for the young. Survival is not always about fighting. Sometimes survival means knowing when to stop, when to listen, and when to move away. Weeks continue to pass. The young raccoons become larger. Their movements become faster. Their climbing becomes more confident. They begin exploring farther from their mother, but she continues watching them. Eventually, the difference becomes obvious. These are no longer helpless newborns. They are young raccoons learning to become independent. One explores a fallen tree. Another searches beneath leaves. Another climbs higher into a nearby trunk. The mother watches for a moment before continuing through the forest. The kits are beginning their own lives. And somewhere in that same woodland, another generation will eventually begin the same journey. A raccoon is born into darkness. It grows inside a hidden den. It opens its eyes. It takes its first steps outside. It learns to climb. It learns to search for food. It learns to recognize danger. And eventually it becomes independent. Years later, that young raccoon may become a parent itself, and the cycle begins again. From mating, to pregnancy, to a hidden den, to tiny newborn kits, to their first steps into the forest, and finally, to independence. The hidden life of a raccoon is not simply a story about one animal. It is a story about survival, about adaptation, about learning, and about a mother preparing her young for a world that does not offer second chances. That is what makes the raccoon so fascinating. Behind those familiar black markings is an animal capable of navigating darkness, finding shelter, adapting to changing environments, and raising young in a world filled with uncertainty. The next time you see a raccoon moving quietly through the darkness, remember, you may be looking at an animal carrying millions of years of survival instincts, a creature that spends much of its life hidden from our eyes. But inside the darkness of the forest, an entire world is unfolding. And somewhere tonight, another mother may be leading her young into the night, teaching them the same lessons that will one day allow them to survive on their own. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden life of the raccoon, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to BodyverseTV for more incredible wildlife documentaries, animal behavior, and fascinating stories from the natural world. The forest becomes a completely different world when the sun goes down. While most animals are settling into the darkness, a masked face quietly emerges from the shadows. A raccoon, small enough to disappear beneath the trees, but clever enough to survive in some of the most challenging environments. And tonight, this female raccoon is beginning a journey that will eventually lead to one of nature's most remarkable stories. From finding a mate, to choosing a safe den, to raising a new generation. But before motherhood begins, the story starts with a search. The female moves carefully through the woodland, stopping every few seconds to sniff the ground and listen. Her ears rotate toward distant sounds. Her whiskers move as she investigates fallen leaves, tree roots, and branches. Raccoons are mostly nocturnal, so darkness is not an obstacle to them. It is when their world truly comes alive. During the breeding season, males and females may encounter one another while moving through their home ranges. A male approaches cautiously. The female notices him. For a moment, they remain separated by the vegetation, watching and smelling the air around them. There is no dramatic ceremony, no human-like romance, just two wild animals responding to instinct in the conditions around them. Eventually, the female moves on, but her journey is about to change. After mating, she will eventually need something far more important than companionship. She will need a safe place for her young, and finding that place can make the difference between life and death. The female begins investigating possible shelters: a hollow tree, a protected space beneath a fallen log, a quiet cavity hidden among dense vegetation. She carefully examines each location. She sniffs the entrance. She looks inside. She checks the surroundings. The perfect den must provide protection from weather, predators, and other dangers. Finally, she finds a sheltered hollow. It is dark, protected, and difficult for other animals to reach. This will become the nursery. Inside the den, the female rests and prepares for the arrival of her young. After a gestation period of roughly 2 months, something extraordinary happens. A new generation arrives. The newborn kits are tiny, helpless, and completely dependent on their mother. Their eyes are closed. Their movements are limited. They cannot survive on their own. For the first weeks of their lives, the den is their entire world. The mother stays close. Hidden beneath the cover of darkness, keeps them warm. One of the world's rarest mammals begins an extraordinary journey. Every tiny squeak is important. From finding a mate to raising a tiny baby, that her babies are alive and developing. But surviving long enough to become a mother is its greatest challenge. Birds move through the trees. As the sun disappears below the horizon, the African forest slowly comes alive. But hidden inside the hollow tree fades away. A completely different story is unfolding. Of crickets, the kits are growing, rustling leaves. Slowly at first. Hidden beneath the roots of a large tree, their bodies become stronger. A small opening leads into their characteristic facial markings become more obvious and unusual, and eventually their eyes begin to open. Covered for the first time, they can see the world that exists beyond their with a long, narrow snout. But seeing the outside world is one thing. The pangolin steps quietly into the night. It is one of the world's most mysterious mammals, rarely seen by people because it spends most of its life hidden under the cover of darkness. Unlike lions that hunt in prides or elephants that travel in family groups, pangolins are solitary creatures. Most of their lives are spent alone, wandering silently through forests and grasslands in search of food. Every movement is slow, careful, and deliberate, helping them avoid unwanted attention from predators. Although its eyesight is relatively poor, the pangolin possesses an extraordinary sense of smell. Every few steps, it lowers its nose toward the ground, searching for invisible scent trails carried by the cool night air. Its search soon leads it to a large termite mound. Using enormous curved claws, the pangolin tears through the hardened soil with surprising strength. Within seconds, thousands of termites begin rushing through their tunnels. Then comes one of nature's most fascinating feeding adaptations. The pangolin extends an incredibly long, sticky tongue deep into the nest. Unlike human tongues, a pangolin's tongue is attached near its chest instead of directly inside the mouth, allowing it to stretch astonishing distances. Every time it withdraws its tongue, hundreds of termites cling to the sticky surface before being swallowed whole. Without teeth, the pangolin relies on powerful stomach muscles and tiny swallowed stones to help grind its food during digestion. Night after night, this quiet routine continues. But tonight, something unusual happens. The female suddenly pauses. She lifts her head, sniffing the air with great concentration. A new scent drifts through the forest. Somewhere nearby, a male pangolin has been searching for a mate. Guided almost entirely by scent, the two slowly move toward one another beneath the moonlit trees. There is no roaring, no fighting, and no dramatic display. Instead, they communicate through subtle body language and gentle movements. The male cautiously circles the female, occasionally stopping to sniff the ground or lightly touch her with his nose. The female calmly observes him, deciding whether he is an acceptable mate. Their courtship is peaceful, patient, and remarkably quiet. Eventually, after both animals accept one another, mating takes place. Unlike many mammals that remain together, pangolins separate soon afterward. The male quietly disappears back into the forest, continuing his solitary life. The female is now completely alone. Inside her body, however, an extraordinary transformation has already begun. Over the coming months, a tiny new life slowly develops. Every insect she eats, every safe shelter she finds, and every dangerous predator she avoids now affects not only her own survival, but also the future of her unborn baby. Pregnancy is a demanding time. The mother must consume enormous numbers of ants and termites to meet her growing nutritional needs. Each night, she travels across forests, woodlands, and open savannas, searching for fresh insect colonies hidden beneath fallen logs, tree roots, and underground tunnels. Her muscular forelimbs allow her to break apart even the toughest termite mounds. Thick claws slice through packed earth, while her long, sticky tongue reaches deep into narrow passageways that few other animals can access. Every successful meal provides protein, fats, vitamins, and minerals that nourish the developing baby inside her womb. As the weeks pass, the mother's movements become slower and more cautious. She spends increasing amounts of time resting inside her underground burrow, where cool temperatures and thick walls provide protection from harsh weather and hungry predators. Inside her body, the baby grows rapidly. Tiny limbs begin to form, small claws develop. Its distinctive scales slowly appear, soft and flexible at first, unlike the hardened armor they will later become. Finally, after several months of pregnancy, the moment arrives. Deep inside the darkness of her burrow, the mother gives birth to a single tiny pangolin. The newborn is incredibly small compared to its mother, but it already possesses the unmistakable features of its species: a long snout, curved claws, and delicate scales covering its body. At birth, those scales remain soft, allowing the baby to move comfortably during delivery. Within only a few days, they gradually harden into protective armor. The newborn rarely leaves its mother's side. For the first several weeks, it feeds entirely on milk while sleeping safely beside her. Whenever danger approaches, the mother instinctively curls her powerful body around the baby, creating a living shield that protects it from harm. Few mothers in the animal kingdom are as devoted. Although pangolins appear heavily armored, newborns are extremely vulnerable. Every journey outside the burrow is filled with risk. When the baby grows slightly stronger, the mother introduces it to the outside world. One evening, she carefully leaves the burrow with the tiny pangolin climbing onto her broad tail and lower back. This remarkable behavior has become one of the most recognizable images of pangolin motherhood. The baby grips tightly to its mother's overlapping scales while riding comfortably through the forest. From this elevated position, it safely observes everything around it. It watches insects crawling across fallen logs. It sees birds flying overhead. It listens as frogs call from nearby streams. Most importantly, it begins learning the skills needed for survival. The mother demonstrates how to locate termite colonies by following scent trails. She teaches the young pangolin where to dig, how to break apart hard soil, and how to insert its tongue into narrow tunnels without wasting energy. At first, the baby struggles. Its claws are still small. Its digging is clumsy. Sometimes it misses its target completely. But with every passing week, its strength improves. Soon it begins catching insects on its own. As the young pangolin grows, so does its confidence. It spends less time riding on its mother's back and more time walking beside her. Its scales become thicker. Its muscles grow stronger. Its sense of smell becomes increasingly refined. But the forest remains full of danger. Leopards silently patrol the undergrowth. Large pythons wait beneath thick vegetation. Hyenas roam nearby during the night. Even large birds of prey may target young animals whenever an opportunity appears. One quiet evening, everything changes. The mother suddenly freezes. Her sensitive nose detects an unfamiliar scent drifting through the wind. A leopard is nearby. Without hesitation, she gently nudges her baby closer. Then she performs one of nature's most extraordinary defensive behaviors. Using incredibly powerful muscles, she curls into a perfectly tight armored ball. The baby instinctively presses against its mother's belly, completely protected inside the circle of overlapping scales. When fully curled, very few predators can force a pangolin open. The leopard cautiously approaches. It sniffs the strange armored ball. It nudges it with a paw. It even attempts to bite the scales. But there is no weak point. After several unsuccessful attempts, the predator eventually loses interest and quietly walks away in search of easier prey. Only then does the mother slowly uncurl. She gently checks her baby before continuing their journey through the forest as if nothing had happened. Weeks turn into months. The young pangolin grows stronger with every passing day. Its scales have now hardened into effective armor. Its claws have become powerful digging tools. Its long, sticky tongue captures insects with remarkable precision. More importantly, it has learned patience, caution, and independence from watching its mother. Eventually, the young pangolin no longer rides on her back. Instead, it confidently walks beside her, searching for food and exploring the forest on its own. Soon the time comes for them to separate. The young pangolin quietly leaves to begin its own solitary life, following ancient instincts that have guided its ancestors for millions of years. The mother watches briefly before disappearing into the darkness once more. Her extraordinary journey has come full circle. Yet this story also carries an important message. Pangolins are among the most heavily trafficked mammals on Earth. Habitat destruction, illegal hunting, and wildlife trafficking continue to threaten their survival across Africa and Asia. Every newborn that reaches adulthood represents hope for the future of a species that has survived for millions of years but now faces unprecedented challenges. The next time you hear about a pangolin, remember that beneath those remarkable scales is not only one of Earth's most unique mammals, but also a devoted mother whose patience, resilience, and determination help ensure the survival of the next generation. If you enjoyed discovering the hidden life of the pangolin, from mating to motherhood, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to BodyverseTV for more incredible wildlife documentaries, fascinating animal behavior, and amazing stories from the natural world.